Hey guys, it's Landon with Taught by a Surveyor. In this video, we're going to talk about negative numbers, positive numbers, and the number line. Wanted to do this video. My niece one of my nieces is working with negative numbers in school right now, so I wanted to do a little video on that topic. So yeah, negative numbers. Like, what is that? Is that like numbers with a personality disorder? No, it's not. It's just a different way of counting. I think it'll make more sense with the number line. I remember when I was learning about negative numbers, I got a little bit confused, especially when it came to multiplying and dividing them. So I'm going to give you the rules for that. We're going to talk about that towards the end of the video, but I'm also going to try and do my best to explain why the rules work the way they do. So negative numbers, positive numbers, got to know those things. Got to know how to do that if you want to be a surveyor or do basic math. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick review of the number line here, okay? So I talk about the number line in one of my other videos on coordinate grids. But if you remember, you imagine it's like a ruler or a line that goes on forever each direction, right? And we typically started at, we say, hey, the middle of the line is 0, then the numbers go up one direction and they go down the other direction. Okay, so that's a number line. So before we talk about the number line and how negative numbers plot on the number line, I just want to talk about tacos for a minute. Okay, now you might think, why does Landon want to talk to us about tacos? Okay, here's why I want to talk to you about tacos. Because tacos are a great way to learn about negative numbers. So let's just say you and I are buddies, and we go to school or we work next to a really great taco truck. We have a lot of those in my part of California. So we're gonna say this is Landon. And we're going to say, my friend, I don't have very many friends, but we're going to pretend for a minute that Bob is my friend. All right. So me and Bob, we got our favorite taco truck. And at that taco truck, tacos are $1. $1 for a great tasting taco. That's a screaming hot deal. Okay, so we go to the taco truck tomorrow, which is Sunday. Actually, we'd go Monday. So we go Monday, we go to the taco truck, and I have $3 in my wallet, which is $3 more than I normally have in my wallet because I'm married. And Bob has $6 in his wallet because he's single. So he has a little more money than me. All right, so we go to the taco truck, and I buy 3 tacos. Okay, so we're going to subtract $3 from my wallet. I now have $0 in my wallet. Okay, Bob buys 2 tacos for $2. Bob now has $4 in his wallet. Okay, that's on Monday. Okay, so I'm going to draw a little dashed line here. Okay, now here's where the negative numbers come in. Okay, so we go to the taco truck on Tuesday, and I want to order 3 more tacos. But I don't have any money. So I tell Bob, I said, Bob, can I borrow some money for tacos? He says, how many tacos do you want, Landon? I say, Bob, we come here every day. I eat 3 tacos. Bob says, well, I only have $4 and I eat 2 tacos. So he said, I'll borrow you $2. You can have 2 tacos and I can have 2 tacos. And I say, you know what, Bob, that sounds like a pretty good deal to me. I'll pay you back as soon as I have the money. Okay, so now Bob buys 4 tacos, he gives me 2. So Bob now has $0 in his wallet, right? But I owe Bob $2 now. So I have a negative $2 balance, right? Because I owe Bob some money now. Okay, now we go the next day, and Bob looks at me, and I've kind of got my puppy dog's eyes on. I'm doing my best to look sad and hungry. And he says, "You don't have any money today, do you?" I said, "No, I don't, Bob." He says, "That's all right." He said, "I got some more money. I got my allowance. I got my $10 allowance yesterday." He said, "I will borrow you $2 more for 2 tacos today. You can pay me back at the end of the week." I said, okay. So Bob borrows me $2 more. Okay, so Bob gets plus 10. He got his allowance. Okay. So now Bob's at $10. Okay. Bob borrows me $2 and buys 2 more tacos. So he's down $4. So he's got $6 left in his wallet. Okay, but I'm going further in the hole. This is like real life. It's like owning a business. Okay, so I borrowed another $2 for Bob. Now I owe Bob $4. -4. So just think about it this way. A negative number is just a way of saying you owe somebody, right? It's when you take away from 0, you go in the hole, right? You go negative. Okay, that's how negative numbers work. Now, so if you're struggling, think about tacos. Pretend you're at the taco truck with your buddy and you don't have any money, he's got to borrow you money. That's going to put you in the negative, right? That's like a negative number. Okay. So let's plot negative numbers on the number line for a minute. Okay, so you can just think about my balance. What's the money in my wallet? We're just going to plot that on the number line. Okay, so Monday, I have positive $3. So if we were just going to plot that, we can say right here, this red circle is $3. This is where I'm at. This is my wallet on Monday. Okay. Now, we take away 3, so we minus 3. So I'm going to go, we're moving 3 units down the number line. 1, 2, 3. Okay, what's my balance now? Well, we can look on the number line. So when I wake up on Tuesday morning, I don't have any money in my wallet. My wallet's 0. Now, the next day, Bob borrows me $2. Tuesday, he borrows me $2. Okay, so just remember, negative, if we're taking numbers away, dollars or numbers or watermelons or feet, whatever it is, if we're taking numbers away, we go left on the number line. If we're taking numbers away, if we're adding numbers, we go right. Okay, so I owe Bob $2. I'm going $2 in the hole. So we're subtracting 2. We go left on the number line. So I got to go down 2 more units. Okay, so now, what's my balance? In other words, what do I have in my wallet? Well, now I've got a negative. So when I wake up Wednesday morning, I got a negative $2 balance, right? So my balance is negative. It's a negative number. Okay, now Wednesday, Bob borrows me $2 more. So we got to go down 2 more. 1, 2. Okay. All right, so now I'm at a -4. This is on Thursday morning. Okay, now let's go the other direction just to show you how this works. So on Friday, let's say I get my allowance. So Friday I get my allowance. I don't get as much as Bob. Bob gets $10. I only get $5. So I wake up on Friday morning and I get my $5 allowance because my parents are stingy. Okay, so now I'm adding 5. We're going to add 5 down here, plus 5. Okay, since we're adding, we go the other way on the number line. Now count them. We just count the units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when I add positive 5 to a -4, we get a positive 1. Okay, so hopefully that helps you visualize it a little bit. So what are the rules for adding and subtracting? I'm going to give you the rules. Okay, so if you add 2 positive numbers, let me get rid of taco. Okay, if you add 2 positive numbers, the sum should get bigger. Okay, should go up. If you add 2 negative numbers, the sum should go down. You're taking away from an already negative balance. Okay, so your total balance is going to go down. The sum, what's left over is going to go down. Okay, if you add a positive and a negative, your number's still going to go down. Your sum is still going to go. It's like real life. It's like real life. It's easier for your balance to go down than it is to go up. So there's two ways to have your balance go down. There's only one way to get your sum or your balance to go up, right? You got to add, you got to add two. Oh, you know what? I take that back. That's not true. I lied. So if you add a positive and a negative, it depends on how much. It could go up or down. The sum could go up or down. I'm sorry about that, right? So if your negative is bigger than your positive, your sum will go down. If your negative is smaller than your positive, your sum will go up. Okay, so it could be either or. So you got to look at that. Okay. Now, let's talk about multiplying and dividing for a minute. Okay, so you got to remember, multiplication is just adding over and over again, and division is just subtracting over and over again. So the same rules, basic rules apply. So if you multiply a negative number times a positive number, your result is going to be negative because you're taking away a number multiple times. Okay, so your sum is going to be lower. If you're multiplying a negative number by a negative number, you're taking away the negatives, so your number is going to get bigger. Okay, so let me just show you an example. If I say I borrowed $2 from Bob 3 days, so 3 times negative 2. So I borrowed $2 from Bob 3 days in a row. That is going to be negative 6. Okay, so a positive times a negative is always a negative. Remember the taco truck. Okay, now let's just say for 3 days in a row, okay, 3 days in a row, I pay Bob $2, or I take away, so for 3 days in a row, 3 days in a row, I take away $2 from my debt. So I'm paying Bob back. So negative 3 times negative 2. So that means I've come up $6, right? So each of the 3 days, I'm taking away a negative, my $2 debt. Negative times a negative equals a positive. Here's another way to write that, because I know it's a little bit confusing. So you could say every 3 days, right, I give Bob $2. So negative 3 times negative 2 is the same as 3 times 2, 6. Okay, so I know it's a little bit confusing. Just remember, negative times a negative is a positive. Negative times a positive is a negative. Same rules for division, right? So the same kind of rules apply. All right, so negative numbers are a little bit confusing. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about was negative numbers and coordinates. And I'm going to try and find a video on YouTube that explains the rules for negative numbers a little bit better. Okay, so surveyors do deal with negative numbers sometimes. Okay, and so one thing that we try to do when we design coordinate systems or coordinate grids, we talk about those in some of my other videos. We always try and make the coordinates big enough so that we don't deal with negative numbers, because negative numbers are a pain in the butt, and surveyors know that. Okay, but even then, we have to deal with negative numbers, and I haven't done any videos on coordinate geometry yet, but I'll give you an example. When you're dealing with coordinate geometry, one of the things we do is we're given a bearing or direction and a distance of a line. So let's say this is, sorry guys, this is south, 40 degrees, east, 100 feet. A lot of times what we're told to do, what we need to do is we need to figure out what is the change in northing. We call that change in northing. And the change in easting of that line, we use trig to do that. Okay, but in the way most surveying coordinate systems are set up, if we're in the southeast quadrant or the southwest quadrant, the change in northing is always going to be negative. It'll be a negative number. Okay, and if we're in the westerly quadrant, so northwest or southwest, the change in easting will always be negative. So surveyors do have to deal with negative numbers. You'll see that when we get into doing some right triangle trig and some basic coordinate geometry. I'll do some other videos on that. So you do need to know how to add and subtract negative numbers. That is going to be important. All right, I know that wasn't my best math video. Like I said, it gets a little bit confusing. Hopefully you guys aren't asleep and you can get through some stuff with some negative numbers. You understand how negative numbers work on the number line, and we'll talk more about negative numbers when we do some basic coordinate geometry. Thanks for watching.